Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak.
Well, thanks everyone. Great introduction. Thank you, Steve. It was great to have you here. So it's going to be, we've got a lot of exciting times in the auto industry, and we've caught up backstage for some prior business and personal experiences. So it's good to finally get to pick your brain.
Thanks, Dave. It's wonderful to be here. I used to always be interested in what's the latest computer and what's the latest smartphone coming, and nowadays it's usually something, what's happening in automotive.
Yeah, well, I think that's I think that there's a lot to learn here. We've before we jump into all the great new auto things that are happening in the industry, I'd love to hear what you've been up to and your latest passion projects.
Been up to? Oh, I wish I'm just way too busy. I do a lot of traveling for this sort of speaking, but I've got WozU, which combines technology and education, which were my two passions in life. I actually went back and after Apple was successful and all, I taught in the public schools, 5th to 9th graders, 200 hours a year classes. I mean, I did it for 8 years in my life, no press allowed around kids. And then so I got WozU going, that combines the two, and got a couple of blockchain startups that are sort of other methods of financing so that everybody can get in and invest in things like reducing the amount of energy that companies use and all that. And it's based on a company that's totally successful, been making huge amounts of money for years and years. I don't like to take just a risky thing, it's just some new blockchain token, it might have value of its own. No, it's like shares of stock in a company that's already very profitable.
That's an interesting point I hadn't thought about. I'm focused on auto, but I know today I was watching CNBC and the Libra, hot topic in the hand with Mr. Zuckerberg. I mean, any thoughts on Libra and that concept?
I didn't watch it, but it might be kind of a case when you have a large kind of control like a monopoly company. There's nothing wrong with that, but you abuse it to take over other markets and move into them. And this whole idea of digital currency being so, controlled by a private organization. Blockchain is supposed to be all the opposite. Bitcoin is just, nobody owns it. Who created it? Nobody knows, and it just runs on its own. It's very trustable when things are done by nature, and sometimes you don't trust certain people or companies. Yep. So We'll wait to see. I would want just because everybody has Facebook, they wind up using Libra.
Yep.
Because then the control is out of your hands more.
On the discussion we were having prior to getting on stage was around technology changes with our backgrounds with video and analog video and pneumatic tape going to computers. And that was, from my perspective, one of the most dramatic things I've seen in my career, where you went from the industry got flipped upside down.
Well, I'm already excited to run to somebody who sat there with the dials doing video editing before we had the digital world.
Yeah, no, you and I were old.
Analog television, you had to have a brain and do powerful mathematics.
Yeah.
Now it's digital. Different.
Indeed. And I think the auto industry is analogous. It's very similar, right? So, and there's all sorts of viewpoints from electrification. We've got a whole list of questions I was given on that topic. But you've got a history of seeing these big transitions take place. The belief is in the auto industry, we're probably going to see another revolution around autonomy and electrification, et cetera. I'd like to start with autonomy, and it's the one that I think is, we all would love to have, and we all have strong opinions, and they keep changing. But where have you? What's your opinion been so far of the autonomous vehicles, and when and if ever?
I've always been a believer in technology and change, and that change is good and takes us to newer and better places. It does more for us than we could as humans before. That was even my thinking, bringing personal computers to the world. But the trouble is, sometimes the book Singularity came out, and we had this idea that someday computers were going to be like a human brain. Artificial intelligence has the word intelligence, and it would sit there and study you and know you and look at your facial records and care. It would actually have feelings and get hurt if you said the wrong thing. I actually believed that for quite a while. So for autonomy in cars, that was like the big example. Oh my gosh, they're going to look out there and spot and know what everything is and think about it the way a human does. And you just have to train it for all these use cases. And I just totally bought into it. There was going to be a car by now without a steering wheel. I was hoping it would be Apple that sold it. And then a couple of years ago, I just sort of gave up that thinking. And I thought that there's a lot that technology can do to help us drive cars, to make them safer in certain situations, to do a lot of the task for us. But you're going to really need at least the dumbest human to make some mistakes whenever anything new comes up. My wife and I take tons of road trips on the interstates, and nothing is ever predictable enough that you don't have to take control whenever you run into some kind of unusual situation or more crowded situation, more cars. You can't trust what we have. Well, we just drive a Tesla. It's only beta, so I guess they don't have autopilot yet. We were talking about the Cadillac CTS or CT6, whatever it is. Does let you drive without your hands on the steering wheel legally.
Super Cruise, yeah.
That's incredible, yeah.
Very impressive.
So I like that because we drive all these long road trips. We've done 3,000 miles to Yellowstone and back 4 times, or to Kansas 4 times. We've done 2,000 miles to Yellowstone and back 3 times, and we drive all over the place, everywhere we can with our family. And it's nice when the nice parts are there and there's nothing around you, kind of. Except every once in a while there's nothing around you, and that car all of a sudden brakes to a stop, and your speed setting for 70 miles per hour on the cruise will switch on the screen down to 35. What the heck? There's nobody around on this freeway. And I don't know. The navigation systems are one of those bits of technology that just bother me more than anything else, for misleading us. I have this nice life where I don't want to frown. I don't care if things go wrong, except when it's technology not working the way it should. I get upset because it's people like me that created it.
Blaming you.
So autonomy in cars, I kind of have stepped way back. This idea of level 5, car drives itself forever, I've really given up. I don't even know if that'll happen in my lifetime. If we were to modify roads and have certain sections that are well mapped and kept clean of refuse, and nothing unusual happens, and there's no road work, and there's no people up with signs and diverting you on detours, then there's certain situations. It's almost like having your car on a track. Well, if you're going to make tracks for cars and we're going to be like just taken care of, well, why don't you just have a little vehicle you drive onto and that vehicle goes on the tracks? Then you lose all the excitement of I'm in control of a part of my life, my wanderlust, my feelings to explore and drive. All that kind of disappears with it. And I don't know how far along we're going to get. I think we'll trust it a lot of ways, but I'm sure that right now when people get the chance to not pay attention, that causes accidents. What is the ratio? Is it more accidents or less? And Tesla doesn't release data. They release statements, but without incomplete data to say what they're really saying. So I don't know if we're at the stage yet where we're having fewer accidents, but I definitely want cars to stop for red lights. I guess I'm not talking Tesla, but...
that's a good thing.
My wife and I took our first drive in a self-driving car yesterday. I just went up to get a lift from downtown and said, self-driving option, okay. And we got in this little Aptiv car, 2 humans, of course, there, and it would only go down the strip, Las Vegas Boulevard, and it wouldn't go on the freeway. It's like the situations you can run into on freeway are too varied, but it did a nice job. We felt safe and comfortable. So, but you know what? No matter what, you've always got to be ready to take over. That means you still have to learn how to drive.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the data. One of the things I think this industry struggles with, and we all are, is there's a lot of data being generated from cars that wasn't there 10 years ago, even certainly 20 years ago. A lot of computing power, a lot of inputs, a lot of sensors. Who owns the data? Do I, as the owner of the car? Does the manufacturer? Does the government? There's just a tremendous amount of information that people want to mine, use for safety reasons, for monetary reasons, to build better cars. And at the moment, no one's really figured out what the rules are and what we should or shouldn't do. And
well, there's a lot of good, and then there's a lot of bad. And the bad to me is always dishonesty, hiding how the data is being used, where it's going to, who it's being sold to. You think, oh, they're just using it to give me a good drive. That's fine. That's beautiful. But if it was just more open and they were forced to disclose those kind of things about your habits, where you go, what speed you go, everything, all like that, at least disclose to you. It's your data, and if you're making money off it too, maybe I should be in the loop a little bit. I have no choice.
Does blockchain have a role in that? I'm looking at some of the questions coming in. So I've got a real-time feed of questions from our audience. One of them is relative to that. How do you think blockchain will affect the auto industry in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
I don't have a real strong opinion on that. I've seen for 10 years so many examples of blockchain that can do great things, and whether it's voting or real estate tracking or self-driving cars, it can be applied. It's another technology that can be applied. It might be a little more difficult than a technology that can do the job just as well, but because of the fact that it's open and anonymous and the data is not controlled by any one person, that's sort of an advantage, but I don't think it's going to work its way that well into the driving. Maybe I don't know the right examples, or haven't thought of them.
Yeah, at the moment it appears to be around security. How do you make sure someone doesn't take control of your vehicle, and blockchain and a very
but somebody's got to design a car with an operating system collecting the data, and the trouble is there a system that works where the data is everywhere, and every car knows what every other car's actions are? Maybe where it is. Self-to-self car communication can be very useful, but let's wait and see. I want to have good products, and not that I'm just data of what I'm doing is what the value is. I'm afraid that car companies would pay less attention to designing the great product and using the data the right way to help me if they could make more money selling it other ways.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I've got one here I'm going to go to that's for Steve, of course. No one wants to know what I think on these things at the moment. What advice would you give to the women in the audience on getting better career advancement opportunities in a male-skewed field, since women have faced similar challenges in the technology area? So if you haven't noticed,
if we're talking about technology, apply to Apple. Apple's the one company that has gender equality on pay, the one technology company that does that in the United States. So it works its way through our society.
That's true.
But good ideas start with us talking and having questions like this and concerns and having it heard by more people. And sometimes decades go by and then you've got civil liberties where it belongs, maybe even non-discrimination type effects. It kind of takes a long time to work its way through culture and change culture. But we're on the right track because you hear everywhere you go, you hear that for quite a while. It's getting more and stronger, and then eventually there may be like laws or regulations passed and something like that.
And you saw it when we talked about our prior lives with in the video space, and you saw that happen too. I think if you went back to the technology and to some degree the studio/television industry was pretty male dominated, and it's definitely evolved. The auto industry has a ways to go,
some things just can't change that much because they're so deep in the culture. And yet it's so strange because sometimes in technology we see things change much faster than we thought they would.
On the Apple side of things, the rumors about Apple building a car I've got about 4 questions I'm looking at now. But what are your thoughts on Apple building a vehicle? Good idea, disaster in the making, bad idea?
Well, that was back in the time when I totally believed we'd have full self-driving cars too, and I like the fact that Apple had a big period of time where Apple created the software and the hardware. Now, big company became Microsoft, had developed the software and then licensed it out for lots of other companies to build the hardware, but because we knew the experience between the two of them, we could make them work together, and we still claim that that's one of our benefits today, that it's sort of the Apple ecosystem all placed well together. And I thought, whoa, you make the car and the software for the car that drives it, you have a little advantage over just making random. Apple's not really ever shown that they're that good at building an operating system that generalizes to everyone can use it for their own purposes. Apple's much better at making the final total solution, knowing what the experience is going to be. So I was looking forward to that car, and then I read the rumors. I just read the same things as everyone else here. You're ahead of me at J.D. Powers, of course. But that Apple was going to, somehow dropping out of the hardware end of it and just going to work on the software, and the software is the most important. But now we have a lot of doubts about how far the software is really going to go, and cars are kind of important. It's got to be safe. So I don't know where Apple is right now. I really don't care about, I'm going to drive a car without a steering wheel. I don't expect that.
No, that's fair. I hope we can, but I suspect it's a ways away.
And if I could, why would I want a car?
You get an analog car. You get a
stick
shift and gasoline and makes noise.
We see some trends, but
there's some.
But we're born with that. We're born with a wanderlust. I want to be able to think of something far away right now and go there.
All right, I'm getting a lot about technology here. I'm going to condense some of these. So let's. How can technology improve human interactions instead of hinder it? I think we've, you've seen a few examples over the years. Maybe that's one with autonomous to some degree, right? If you're not careful, you rely on a vehicle that isn't yet ready for prime time, and that's been problematic.
Well, this said improve human interaction. Is that human interaction with a vehicle, with a technology? Because almost all the advances in technology usually are the user interface, how your input and your output methodologies, and we're still working on it. But the trouble is, it changes so fast. Now you got to learn a new set of gestures, and now those don't work anymore. You got to tap different places. I hate the fact that changes just bother it and makes life almost more difficult unless you're just a beginner, and your beginner comes in, here's the status quo, here's how it made. Wow, they thought out some things really nicely, until it starts changing. Now it does the same thing, but I can't find it. I can't use it proficiently.
Yeah.
So, when will we ever get to that? I don't know, because all the car technologies are probably going to go the way Silicon Valley technologies have gone. I just wish that they'd sit there and say, we are going to let the user know what data we're collecting and what it's used for, and here's how. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you're going to know what's coming out in the new vehicles that are secret and covered and, secret from the next building over even.
Yeah, but some way to opt in. I mean, in fairness, on any computer or anything that we'd work with, we're much better sense now of when data's collected, when we opted in, not opted in. It's still not perfect, but in a car, I'm not sure I've ever really thought about, my driving behavior and or the vehicle itself, the data, and I'm not sure I opted in on what was being shared.
Yeah, the opting in and opting out is still unclear to me.
Yeah.
And I wish it were clear. I just want truth is the apex of all that is good.
What do you like to drive now? What's in the garage?
A Chevy Bolt EV. It's an electric vehicle. Just because I come from an electric background and I see a trend towards electric vehicles, I want to drive electric vehicles. On road trips, you can't take it on a road trip because the fast chargers for all those other cars aren't between the cities, and we take long road trips between cities in the United States. And I've tried to calculate, once we took a trip in our Tesla. Tesla has everything solved. Tesla owns the United States and southern Canada. They've been 70 years of negotiating at malls and restaurants and hotels to have their superchargers. 7 years, somebody else is going to have to come in from scratch for the other kinds of car chargers and work for that long, one at a time, to really build out a full network. So for road trips, we have no choice. Yeah. Tesla's the only way to go.
Good news.
But
at home, there's a bunch of people here that would tell you. I think it'll be sooner than later, though. I think the infrastructure from the
I know there's a lot going on, but they're starting 7 years later than Tesla. I remember when the Tesla had the forethought that you don't want to sacrifice over a gas car. I want to go somewhere today. You can go. And that involved superchargers, but the first 6 superchargers were between Elon Musk's home and the factory. 6 of them in California. I even became the Foursquare check-in mayor on my phone of 5 of them. I didn't even own a Tesla. But but that was so important to realize that the charging and the cars are important. And I started thinking the charging almost more important. A lot of people can make electric cars, but providing the gas is going to be is a big advantage. And like I said, we have no choice right now. We took a road trip up through Canada and a few national parks in our Tesla, and then I looked on a map. Could I just get to Lake Louise in Canada at all in our Chevy Bolt EV? We like the Chevy Bolt EV. That's the only car we drive at home, but couldn't do it for charging. Yeah. I mean, you could drive for 2 hours and then charge overnight in one city.
There's going to be at the media set some Chevy person in this room, I guarantee, is going to tackle you and tell you how that problem is going to be solved very soon. That's good news. I'm pretty certain.
Well, another thing. I mean, Tesla had battery anxiety, they called it. So I got a license plate that says "Bat Crazy," and battery anxiety. But you had to type in where the next superchargers. They were building out the network. It wasn't complete. Where are the superchargers? They typed their addresses into a navigation program, find the distances, and figure out how many miles do I have to make. And I still find I have to do that with the Chevy Bolt EV for road trips. So we've only taken one road trip, and it was just Southern California and back to Northern California.
You got to get a friend with an outlet in the house, and that's still going to take you a while. Okay.
Well, the outlet's in the house. That's what I love about electric vehicles. But Tesla was given away charging for free at the beginning, and we still have 2 Teslas of our own that have unlimited free lifetime. So they're great for road trips, lifetime charging for free. But now Tesla started charging. And they said, electricity is a lot less expensive than gas. And I bought into that, and I was sold on it. And now they've raised the rates, and it's about the same per mile as gasoline. I wonder what happened. When I'm at home, it's about 1/3 the price of gas. But I just
Didn't
love
know that.
I just love that sort of charging rather than credit card and gasoline and pouring it in and some drips and the smells.
No doubt it's
So I'm pretty much electric. I sort of have a goal, but it's not fixed, that I'll never go to a gas station again or drive a gas car again, unless I have to.
yeah. No good old-fashioned analog cars in the garage? You don't want to get something?
Yeah, no, we actually have a couple of analog cars.
right.
We've got
I know you do, because I've seen one.
an AMG Hummer. You haven't seen
Okay,
that?
that's-
You seen that? Yeah, we still have a Hummer. I drove that Hummer. That was my car for a few years until I switched
the yin
over
and
to.
the yang, my
I
God.
switched, but
You're
I switched
like electric and that.
4.5 miles per gallon. What are you talking about? But it's diesel.
Okay.
Then I switched to the hybrid, the Toyota Prius for 10 years.
Yeah.
And went from there
There's
to
some Toyota
Tesla.
people out there. Okay.
Well, good. No, it was really, really an excellent car that did all the work. It was the most used car in our family, and now sort of the Chevy Bolt EV replaces it. But these electric cars are still more expensive than gas cars, in my opinion, for the same car. They just aren't there. Although the motor should be cheaper, and the drivetrain should be cheaper, and the fewer parts to require service, you have to pay for the batteries.
All right, I'm going to take you off cars for a moment, because this one I'm curious about. In the early days, when you were home brew hobbying, what was your favorite moment of creation?
Wow.
That's what I thought too. That's a hard one.
Favorite moment definitely the Apple I computer changed the world, and I showed it off, and I gave away my designs. No copyright, no nothing. Showed it off, and that was the formula for a personal computer, but it wasn't really designed by me, a great designer, as a personal computer. It was a terminal to get onto something called the Arpanet. The Arpanet had 6 computers across the United States that you could reach. 6 computers. It has now turned into the internet. This was the early day. I had to be on it. Designed a little terminal, and then I finally put my own little microprocessor and memory computer, so I could now type to my own computer, and it could type back to my home TV. So that was a big day to go down to the Homebrew Computer Club and show this thing off, and everybody looking over my shoulder knew this was the formula, and I passed out my designs. That was an important one. But the Apple II was the one that was a great computer. I knew it right from the start. I designed it from the insides out to be color. You had to know color television, analog color television, and then in analog color television, it would cost about $5,000 to put color onto some TV. And I wanted games to be color. I did some Atari games. I designed Breakout for Atari, where you hit the ball against the bricks. And I just did it moonlighting while I worked at HP. And I thought, what if games were color someday? They were all black and white. And the games were 100 and some chips and 1,000 wires that a skilled engineer like I could hook up for half a year maybe to make a new game prototype. That was the day. And my Apple II computer came up with an idea that a number doesn't have to be converted into a color. Knowing how analog TVs work, the color, if you put the number out of the computer, you got a lot of memory in a computer. Memory means a lot of numbers stored. Take one of those numbers and put it on a wire into the TV the right way, and a TV would think it was color. Totally went against any engineering books on what color television was, but it worked. So we got color for free, and that was the first time arcade games became color. I loved game playing, and the first time ever that arcade games were software. A 9-year-old kid in a simple language called BASIC could write a game with moving things on a screen in one day. Didn't take a skilled engineer half a year to make a game anymore. So this was a huge step, not just a computer, but a gaming machine. And showing that off at the club, my favorite moment was probably, I wrote my game Breakout on my computer in BASIC. It took me 30 minutes, called Steve Jobs to my apartment. We were just shaking that this world was going to be software for games now. And I took it down to the club. I put in a command. If you hit Control-Z, the paddle would jiggle but never miss the ball. So if you sort of were using a paddle, you'd think you never missed. And I set it down in front of this one guy at the club, and I hit Control-Z, and he thought he played the whole game and won.
We got to get you writing code for autonomous. We could use that. All right, I thought this is another interesting one. Oop, I'm going to crash this iPad. You're going to have to help pull me out of the black hole here. All right, I got it. Steve.
Backups. If you get a call from that your mother is in the hospital at the emergency room, what should you do? Back up your computer and get to the hospital.
Wait,
that's what I taught all my kids in school.
I missed that part. I was reading this. Hold on. What?
Well, I was back in earlier days of computers, and backing up was very important and not automatic, and it was a joke.
Okay. Someone tell me later. I'm sure it was good. All right, I'm gonna go to this is one my favorite on this list. With your passion for tech and skills in engineering, if you were starting your career today, you're 21, what would you be working on?
I think it'd be fun things, and a lot of them are the Internet of Things, just devices in our home appliances, things that make home life better. Because even when I was a very young kid in elementary school, I thought of engineering, the value of it was making just devices in the average Joe's home do nice things, making a washing machine so you didn't have to scrub clothes like this. And this is the path to happiness, we always thought. If we can make new things that make life easier. Do we smile more than they did 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago? I doubt it.
Yeah.
But we keep thinking that's the path to happiness.
And you've got a lot of auto people here. I mean, this room's full of auto executives. What's on the wish list, right? They're running studies right now and trying to figure out what do consumers really want. You're a clever guy who's on the edge of a lot of these things. What's the thing you wish was in your car?
Well, I'm just one person, and examples aren't statistics, So what do I wish were in my car? Stopping at stop signs and red lights, and all the other little vehicles that might come from the side. If a dog crosses in front of me, at night it'll stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, because I saw a video once of I guess it was a Chevy Bolt EV running the cruise system. They go around San Francisco for 3 years now, about 50 cars they say. And this car at night, the raccoon walked in front of it, and it slowed down for the raccoon. And I felt so good about that because I really love animals.
Another plug for Chevy for saving the raccoons. All right.
Well, that doesn't mean. I like Ford, Chevy, and Tesla's a love-hate. Like I said, I love truth. Tesla sucked me into stories so many times. I bought a Tesla upgraded, expensive upgrade, to a Tesla with a camera and radar, because then it would drive itself across the country by the end of 2016. And then I upgraded again. They found out they could never do it with their sensors. So they went to new sensors, 8 cameras, and all these distant sensors on it, and it would drive itself across the country by the end of 2017.
Haven't done that yet, have you? No. Okay.
No, we've had some scary experiences. I wish the air conditioner worked. I'm serious, I don't like heat, and if you're the passenger, if you're the driver, you can somehow manage. If you're the passenger, the heat comes in on you, you can't get enough air out of that ventilation, and it takes us, in snowstorms, we've had to stop twice on an interstate, in a snowstorm, in a lane, unable to see anything with the window fogged. You press the defog button, and normally, every car I've ever had clears it up in a few seconds. No, take 10 minutes. Where's the ventilation? I don't know. Something
hard
wrong.
to build a car.
So we've had a lot of scary experiences, but I still like the Tesla. It's given us a lot of freedom to drive anywhere we want without having to go through a hassle of calculating where the superchargers are. Just say I'm going to drive from here to Las Vegas, and it picks the stops, and that's what you want. You want more convenience, less thinking, less human steps
and
to
air
do,
conditioning.
and have everything you want work kind of well. Yeah. Air conditioning. Also, you want a sound system that sounds good, like the Chevy Bolt EV, or comfortable like the Chevy Bolt EV, or able to park well with the smaller Chevy Bolt EV.
You gotta get,
There's more. But it doesn't have all these automatic. We do this for you, and somehow that doesn't matter to us as much. Automatically presents the door handles when you get in, when you approach it, and automatically locks when you go away. Those are good things. They're all good, but I don't know. They're only one thing out of many.
All right. Well, I'm going to switch back to data. What do you think of Google Stadia and how it relates to self-driving? Will Google be sending all data to the cloud for more widespread information distribution to low latency connected self-driving cars? I'm not sure. Let me summarize. I think what they're saying here is, I don't know what that question is.
I don't quite understand it either.
We'll pretend like we didn't ask that one. What do you?
I do want my car to watch my behavior and learn how I choose to drive and which lanes I might choose and what speeds I might choose.
You opt in, like maybe you carry your profile. Like when you buy the next car, it goes, okay, you carry your little cloud-based token that says, here's how I drive. And
yeah, to the extent that it's automated, hey, that's even better. Yeah. Someday we'll have a ring that opens every
You
door,
slow or
our
fast
work, our
driver?
homes, our cars.
Your steady state, or you get a lot of tickets? How many tickets do you get a year?
Well, I don't get tickets anymore. Well, for one thing, I'm on the highways in a Tesla.
You
and
do that.
I could
You
drive to
pull on
Las Vegas
Woz,
at 90 miles an hour like I used to in my gas car. But the trouble is, I'll have to stop an extra time for charging. And so the time I save is the time I waste. So I actually set it for the speed limit, and it's so comfortable.
Let it go.
And then drive with my family. We can talk. We can listen to audiobooks, music, And
What's your favorite?
dogs.
What's the best audiobook in last year?
oh, a bunch of Dan Brown ones I liked, and also what's his name? Weir, The Martian, and the one after that starts with an E. I don't know. We listen to just whatever we got. I got
Wasn't
one
a trick
queued up.
question,
I have one
promise.
queued up right now, which is Dynamite Moon or Gunpowder Moon. So we're going to
Moon.
listen to that
All
driving
right,
home.
because I got a trip coming up, so I'm trying to get ready here.
Yeah.
Who are the visionaries that you admire in technology today, and anyone else we may not know? So when you look out you've seen a lot of hucksters come and go.
You know what? It's not fair because I read the same articles and journals we all read. So the ones that get noted most prominently are the ones you really notice, more than others. And they're at the top of big companies doing a lot of things. So I don't want to give a credit in that sense. I really do like the CEOs of Microsoft and of IBM.
Power.
IBM.
Oh, IBM. Next, when you go to the next,
You know what?
Say JD Power guys, really.
I don't read a lot of analyst stuff because I was ever non-financial in my life. Didn't want to ever. I don't invest in anything. I've never used Apple stock app. And, knowing what's going on, this and that. But then I had a company, and Gartner was very helpful. They had good information. It turned out to be very accurate, and it was good for making decisions and a good guide. And so I became a very favorite of that. But the CEOs I mentioned, it's the way they talk about their vision for their company and putting it on a road track and a plan is, I just like their words a lot.
What do you think about the California privacy law?
Tim Cook. I didn't mention Tim Cook, but that's sort of biased, and I very much favor him.
He's an impressive person. I agree. California privacy law. So a lot of questions here about concerns and good, bad. California privacy laws around your data, your personal information, what you can do with it, who manages it.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm not political, and I don't really know all these laws, but whatever it is, it's too weak in my mind.
Okay. All right. So I got my
There's
answer.
always these little slip-through things, and we'll have a little bit of protection, but let us just see. I mean, I wish I could see how much could I pay Facebook or Google just to not pay any attention to me. Don't send it on. Give me a price, or at least tell me how much you're making on it, so I could ask for a share of it. I know what share to ask for. It's my data. It's my life.
Based on the interviews I saw today on CNBC with Mr. Zuckerberg, I have a feeling that's coming. There is certainly, we're moving to a point, I think, where you get what's the value of the data, and do you have, you control your own information. That's the California law to some degree.
And Europe is really the leader in that whole privacy area, and I'm very glad to hear that.
Voice. So, a lot of voice is, to some degree, it reminds me of autonomy in that for at least the last 15 years, I've had very smart people and technologists tell me how we're 2 or 3 years away from, me being able to say or do whatever I want in the world, reacting to it. And about the only game changer I've personally seen is my Xfinity remote. And I thought, boy, that's the first time I actually went, you know what, this is useful. I don't know what the 226 channel is for the TV show I want to watch. But any thoughts on that? Have you?
Oh my gosh, I'm just
not Xfinity voice, but
sure.
In general.
Well, I of course I grew up, as a real structured engineer and making all these details, they work and all that. And now I don't like structure in products. I don't like having to pick up phone, tap here and find things and scroll and up and down buttons. I just have a thought. I want to speak it. Speak it, have it happen. And our personal assistants, very often when I ask a question, it might be a question of the world or ask it to do something, it doesn't quite understand me because I made it one word too complicated. I really want them to become more and more like a human listening to me. I mean, they'll never be quite as good as the dumbest human, but they can at least get close.
Okay. I'm going to ask one because I don't know what this means. I think there must have been a movie.
That applies to cars, of course. Everything in the car, I'd much rather do by voice. And it frustrates me when I use my voice correctly and it doesn't work.
Who played a better Woz? Josh Gad or Seth Rogen?
It's really funny because Seth is a really nice guy.
Apparently, I'm not in the mainstream.
The coolest guy, and I got to meet him, but Josh Gad is a better actor, and he had actually read my book, and when they put stuff in the movie he was in, it was about Apple Story, they put stuff in wrongly, and he wanted to put stuff in from my book and get it in there, and they didn't let him.
Really?
Yeah, like for example, Steve Jobs holding up stock to one early employee. My gosh, I gave tens of millions of dollars of my own stock to 5 early employees because they were like founders to me. If they hadn't been there, why would I have done what I did, And then everyone else in the company, I sold stock at pre-IPO prices so they could each make a house out of this hugely successful company. And I did those things, but they wouldn't put that in the movie. It's just Steve Jobs is the master of everything.
I haven't seen either one of the movies.
Okay, and the other movie wasn't about Apple, but the other movie wasn't about Apple, but it was about Steve Jobs' personality.
Is it a good book on
tape? I
I
really liked the job that Seth Rogen did, but my favorite movie about Apple was one called Pirates of Silicon Valley long ago.
I've seen that.
So entertaining and fun. Yeah. Young kids and exploring. I loved it, even Bill Gates' portrayal.
All right, good. Well, I'm going to put that on the watch list this weekend. I did see that one a long time ago. What do you recommend in terms of engaging kids and technology? So I think that's probably to your point of teaching and.
Well, it's very technology's all around us. It's in all our homes. So the kids are kind of already getting into it. Of course, when I was in Silicon Valley and I was giving all these computer labs to schools, and I thought, if you have money, just giving isn't really of value. It's making a sacrifice. So that's why I started teaching for 8 years secretly, and that was 8 years of my life, and it got up to 7 days a week even, and I cared a lot. But I thought, at a young age, if they get skills, those skills will probably carry them through life with the technology that's going to become a part of our life. This was a little early even. It was just after cell phones. It was before the internet. It was just as the internet was coming in. But these were important things. Introduce, inspire, make it fun. I found it was less important what you teach, more important that you get somebody motivated to want to go in a direction. The best thing is to spot they already are motivated. They have something in their heart that they love, and it might be writing, it might be painting, it might be chemistry, it might be computers, how they work. They have that in their heart, and try to let them go that way. And if we had really artificial intelligence, like we aren't ever going to have, like if a machine really had a brain, we could have one cheap teacher for life. Teach you in second grade. You're interested in chemistry? In 1 year, I'll take you all the way up through graduate school,
So we're not going to have artificial intelligence,
Not what people think. The thing is, we fool ourselves. The same as self-driving cars. We fool ourselves into believing that this is what we have does everything. No, the limited set of algorithms has very strict limits. And artificial intelligence, well, that's cool. The concept of singularity is by a certain year, 2024, whatever it is, we'll be building machines that process as much information as the human brain. Can we build a brain? It's been something I've been thinking about my whole life. And the engineers at a company I worked for in Salt Lake City did figure out how to build a brain. It takes 9 months. And the thing is, I went back to school. After Apple was successful, I went back to Berkeley under a fake name because my name was well known. Went back under a fake name to get my degree. I had 1 year to go. And my Berkeley diploma says Rocky Raccoon Clark. But the psychology department let me in and take all their courses for majors because I was really interested in the human mind and comparing it to computers and all that. And one thing I found out is we don't know how the brain is structured at all. We don't even know that our memories are in the brain. We know that the processing is in the brain. We don't know that the memories are there. We don't know. The statement I came up with 35 years or 40 years ago is stronger than any book. You lose 2 things between the ages of 6 and 10. Your childhood autobiographic memories and your teeth. So go Google teeth and memories and you'll get interesting things these days. No, we don't know how the brain is structured, so just because we can build a machine with the capability doesn't mean it's going to figure out how to be conscious.
2024, is that singularity?
Maybe by accident.
That was the prediction of the singularity?
I don't know, 2024, 2034,
Maybe
some
that's
year.
when you'll be able to get your autonomous Tesla
I
working.
believed in it, but I believed in it for several years. I was on stage. We're going to have computers that are conscious. And if you have a company here that does everything with computers and went across the street with humans, the slow humans are going to make it suffer economically. Economics wins. You're going to be more successful. It's like all the big financial trades of the world are computer to computer because you put a slow human in the loop, you lose money.
I love the fact that you're willing to change your opinion on stuff too. I mean, a lot of people have their message and they're sticking with it, and you seem to flip-flop a lot.
Well, of course, yeah, it can be tricked into a lot of things. I mean, I'm scared I'm probably falling for phishing scams and all that.
That's good. No,
that's one reason
impressive.
I hate the use of your data. Look at how much email spam and text message spam and robocalls, everything these days. It's just, how do you get away from it even?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
How
if
do you get away
your
from
data
the
is leading them
robocalls?
to you.
Your love of Segways, I think when I first met you was on a Segway and bought a polo. Are you still doing Segway polo? Which I'm sure,
I'm not doing
look up
Segway
polo and you're
our
going to...
our five California teams started the sport. My team started the sport, Silicon Valley Aftershocks. But the trouble is the European teams became athletes. They became athletes, and now there's barely, out of all of California, you could even put together an artificial team to go to the World Championships every 2 years.
The programmers versus
But but I loved it. I've ridden my Segways up and down the Strip here in Las Vegas. Back in the past, I used to take it everywhere in the car. Now it's more important to take my dogs.
Yeah, that's and your audiobooks.
Yeah,
All right,
we still ride Segways at home though, and ride it just down into town. We're in town 5-10 minutes. Go to a movie, park the Segway in the movie theater, ride it back home up the hill.
It's the equivalent of it's like a bird scooter or something.
Yeah, but it's kind of a technology. It's a new thing that didn't exist before, and it was electric vehicle, if you will.
Yeah, right. Computers. It's got all of it in there. And I'm looking at our time. I think we got about 3 or 4 minutes left. So, what are you most excited about for the future? It's kind of a hard one, but.
There was a prior year I would have said artificial intelligence. The trouble is artificial intelligence is the high end of computers. So that's the best they can do. But you show Google a picture of 80,000 dogs, and Google can recognize a dog faster than any human on Earth. Well, technology always made us better than we were as just plain humans. But Google can't tell you if it's a dog on a wall, a picture on a wall, or a real dog. And you take a 1-year-old infant, almost 2 years old, and tell he or she, him or her, that's a dog. They instantly know. It's got these things like my arms and legs, sort of soft, sort of hard, flexible. It's got a brain that thinks where it's going to go, and it looks there and goes there. The child knows the whole dog, and Google just knows some pixels. So, fooling ourselves about artificial intelligence, I don't look forward to that. I don't know. I really like to see more and more of the cars getting safer and safer and doing what they do. That's really the thing I look for the most in life.
Good. Well,
people
are working on it.
And I really do want my smaller devices, the watch, to become even more proficient than it is now. Maybe have a camera someday, because I don't know. I don't like to pull out my phone everywhere I go and answer text messages and all that. And I don't carry it around. I don't do that. And the watch does almost everything I need to in the world now without using the computer. I can ask it questions. I can direct it to do things. I can send text messages. I can pay with Apple Pay. I can put my movie passes on it. I can put my boarding passes for flights.
Yeah.
So really, I go between a computer, full-blown computer, and a watch and skip the phone. Except for pictures,
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Well, look, I appreciate you joining us. It's a pleasure and an honor. And any last thoughts for us before we break?
Last thoughts, always look around and listen to others and give their viewpoints a real fair comparison in your head, and realize that one party that has one talent isn't ever the answer. And there might be other people looking at other angles of the same problem and the same issue. And whatever it is, I don't know, try to make it a better world.
Tell everything you do. That's a good advice.
Dave
might be right
good
sometimes.
products should have preference over making money.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you. We've got a lunch upstairs, so thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you.